Let me tell you about my neighbour, Robert. Robert is 67 years old. He worked for 40 years as an engineer. He saved carefully, he invested wisely, and last year he finally hit his retirement goal, $2 million in his retirement accounts. His friends congratulated him. His financial advisor told him he was set for life. Everything looked perfect on paper, but here's what nobody expected. Robert still drives a 15-year-old car. He cancelled a trip to visit his grandchildren in Florida because the flight seemed too expensive. And when his wife suggested remodeling their outdated kitchen, he said, maybe next year? Robert has $2 million in the bank, but he doesn't feel rich. He feels scared. And if you have $2 million saved for retirement, or you're close to that number, you might feel exactly the same way. Here's what's really happening. When you reach $2 million, something strange occurs. The financial rules that got you here stop working. The advice that helped you save all those years suddenly doesn't fit anymore, and new challenges pop up that nobody warned you about. According to research, only about 4% of American families ever reach $2 million in savings. If you're over 60, that number goes up slightly to 7%. So, you're in a very small group. You did something most people never achieve. But here's the twist. Studies show that nearly half of all retirees, even wealthy ones, say that spending their money causes them anxiety. Think about that. You spent 30 or 40 years saving money. Now you have $2 million and you're still worried. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly why everything changes once you cross that $2 million mark. We'll talk about the 5 biggest traps that catch retirees at this level off guard. And I'll give you a clear, simple plan to protect your money and actually enjoy it without fear. Because here's what the research proves. Most people who retire with $2 million end up with much more money when they die. Not because they were investing geniuses, but because they were too afraid to spend what they had. They were wealthy on paper, but poor in experiences. And that's not what you worked 40 years for. So stick with me. By the end of this video, you'll understand what's really different at $2 million. You'll know the traps to avoid, and you'll have a simple system that tells you exactly how much you can spend without worry. Quick reminder, this is educational information, not personal financial advice. All right, let's get into it. So, let's talk about what really changes when you have $2 million saved for retirement. First, understand this. You're playing a different game now. The strategies that work for someone with $300,000 or $500,000 don't work the same way at $2 million. It's like the difference between managing a small garden and managing a farm. Same basic principles, but the scale changes everything. When you have $2 million, you're not asking, do I have enough anymore? You're asking, how do I protect this? And how much can I actually spend? Those are very different questions, and they require very different answers. Let me show you what I mean with some real numbers. A researcher named Michael Kitchis studied over 150 years of stock market history. He wanted to know what happens to retirees who withdraw money from their savings every year. He looked at every possible 30-year retirement period since the 1870s. Here's what he found. If you withdraw about 4% of your money each year, you almost never run out. In fact, most retirees ended up with 2 to 5 times more money than they started with. Let me put actual dollars on that. Say you retire at age 65 with $2 million. You withdraw 4% in your first year. That's $80,000. Not bad, right? Now, even after taking out $80,000 every single year and adjusting for inflation, most retirees still had between $4 million and $10 million left after 30 years. Think about that. You start with $2 million. You spend $80,000 every year for 3 decades. And you still end up with more money than you started with. So why do people like Robert, my neighbour, still feel scared? Why do they pinch pennies when they have millions in the bank? Because fear doesn't disappear when you hit your number. It just changes shape. You spent 40 years learning to save, to delay gratification, to avoid unnecessary spending. Those habits built your wealth. But now, in retirement, those same habits can work against you. They can trap you into never enjoying what you worked so hard to build. Researchers have a name for this. They call it the consumption gap. It's the difference between what you could safely spend and what you actually do spend. And that gap represents something important. Missed trips with grandchildren, postponed home improvements, experiences you'll never get back. Now, let me walk you through the 5 big traps that catch people at the $2 million level. Trap number 1, you don't know your real number. Here's a question. Why did you pick $2 million as your goal? Was it based on careful planning? Or did it just sound like a good round number? Most people chase numbers like $1 million, $2 million, or $5 million without really knowing what they need. It's like driving to a destination without knowing the address. You might get there, you might not. You'll definitely feel lost along the way. Your real number depends on 3 things. First, your actual lifestyle. What do you want to do in retirement? Travel, help your kids, remodel your house. Those aren't just dreams. They're expenses you need to plan for. Second, your real expenses. Not what you think you'll spend, not what you spend now, but what you'll actually spend when you retire. Here's a surprise. Healthcare often costs twice what people expect. If you retire before age 65, health insurance can run $1,500 or more per month, per person. Third, your fixed income. Do you get Social Security, a pension, rental income? These sources of guaranteed money reduce how much you need to pull from your $2 million. Without this clarity, the anxiety never stops. You'll always wonder, is this enough? Even when you have plenty. Trap number 2, the tax time bomb. Here's something most people don't realize until it's too late. If most of your $2 million sits in traditional IRA or 401k accounts, you have a tax problem waiting for you. At age 73, the government forces you to start taking money out of these accounts. They're called required minimum distributions, or RMDS, and starting in 2033, that age moves to 75. These forced withdrawals create taxable income whether you need the money or not. And here's where it gets painful. Those withdrawals can push you into a higher tax bracket. They can make up to 85% of your Social Security taxable, and they can trigger something called IRMAA, which increases your Medicare premiums. Let me give you an example. Say you have $1.5 million in your IRA at age 73. Your RMD that year would be about $56,000. Add that to Social Security, maybe a pension, and suddenly you're earning $100,000 or more in taxable income. You might jump from the 12% tax bracket to the 22% bracket. Your Medicare premium might double. And remember, this is money you're forced to take out, even if you don't need it. The good news, you can do something about this before age 73. It's called a Roth conversion. You move money from your traditional IRA to a Roth IRA. You pay taxes now, while rates are relatively low. Then that money grows tax-free forever. No RMDS, no forced withdrawals, no surprises. Here's why this matters right now. Tax rates today are historically low, but with the national debt climbing, most experts believe rates will go up in the next 5 to 10 years. So, you have a window to convert money at today's lower rates before they increase. Think of it like this. Would you rather pay taxes on the seed or the harvest? Converting to a Roth means paying taxes on the seed, the smaller amount today, rather than the much larger harvest later. Trap number 3. Your portfolio is either too risky or too safe. At $2 million, mistakes get amplified. A 20% market drop doesn't just feel bad. It's $400,000 gone, at least temporarily. That's a psychological shock, even if you know the market will recover. So some people get too aggressive. They chase growth. They want their $2 million to become $3 million or $5 million. But if the market crashes early in retirement, it can take years to recover. And if you're pulling money out during that crash, you make the damage permanent. Other people go the opposite direction. They get too conservative. They put everything in cash or bonds because it feels safe. But here's the problem, inflation. Over time, your money loses purchasing power. What costs you $1 today might cost $2 in 20 years. So that safe pile of cash actually buys less and less every year. The solution is balance. And a simple system I'm going to show you called the 3-bucket strategy. Here's how it works. Imagine you have 3 buckets and you divide your $2 million among them. Bucket 1 holds 2 to 3 years of living expenses in cash or very short-term investments. If you need $80,000 a year, you'd keep $160,000 to $240,000 here. This is your safety net. No matter what happens in the stock market, you've got 2 to 3 years of money ready to spend. Bucket 2 holds about 5 to 7 years of expenses in bonds or income-producing investments. This is your stability bucket. It won't grow much, but it won't crash either. It's there to refill bucket 1 when it runs low. Bucket 3 is everything else, invested for long-term growth. This is mostly stocks. Yes, it will go up and down, but you're not touching this money for at least 7 to 10 years, so you have time to ride out the market storms. Here's why this system works. When the stock market crashes, and it will, you don't panic. You don't sell your stocks at a loss. You just spend from buckets 1 and 2, while bucket 3 recovers. And when the market is doing well, you refill buckets 1 and 2 from your gains in bucket 3. This system lets you sleep at night. You know you have years of expenses covered, no matter what the market does. Now, let's add one more piece to this. Guardrails. Think of guardrails like the ones on a highway. They keep you on track and tell you when to adjust. Here's how it works. Let's say your portfolio grows by 13% in a good year. Great news. Your upper guardrail says, give yourself a raise, increase your spending a bit, enjoy that growth. But if the market drops and your portfolio falls by 20%, your lower guardrail says, trim back a little. Maybe you reduce spending by 5% temporarily. You skip one big purchase. You delay a trip by a year. Notice what I said, 5%, not 20%, not 50%, just a small adjustment. In most cases, even with a major market crash, you only need to reduce spending slightly and temporarily. This approach is flexible. It's based on what's actually happening, not on fear or guessing. And studies show that retirees who use this system end up wealthier and happier than those who rigidly stick to the same withdrawal amount every year. Trap number 4, complicated investments that sound good but aren't. Once you have $2 million, you become what the financial industry calls an accredited investor. And suddenly you'll start getting phone calls and emails about exclusive investment opportunities. Private equity deals, real estate syndications, structured notes, alternative investment funds. They all sound impressive. They make you feel like you're part of an exclusive club. But here's the truth. Most of these investments have 3 big problems. First, they lock up your money. You can't get it out for months or even years. What if you need cash for an emergency? Too bad. Second, they charge high fees, sometimes 2% per year just for management, plus 20% of any profits. Those fees eat up your returns fast. Third, they're often better for the person selling them than for you. The promoter makes money whether you do or not. Now compare that to a simple, low-cost index fund. You can get your money out any time. Fees are usually 0.1% or less. And over the long term, these simple investments beat most expensive alternatives. I know simple doesn't sound sexy, but your goal isn't to impress people at a cocktail party. Your goal is to protect and grow your wealth with the least amount of stress and cost. Don't confuse complexity with intelligence. The smartest investors often use the simplest strategies. Trap number 5. No plan for what happens to your money after you're gone. Here's a sobering fact. About 70% of family wealth disappears by the second generation. By the third generation, it's 90% gone. Why? Not because of bad markets. Because families don't talk about money until it's too late. If you have $2 million at age 65 and you live to 90, there's a very good chance you'll still have $2 million or more when you pass away. Maybe $3 million, maybe $5 million. That's a lot of money to leave behind. But without a plan, that money can cause more problems than it solves. Your children might fight over it. The IRS might take half of it in taxes. Or your heirs might blow through it in a few years because they never learned how to manage money. The solution starts with conversation. Sit down with your family. Talk about your values, not just your accounts. Explain why money matters to you, what sacrifices you made to build it, what you hope they'll do with it. These conversations prevent misunderstandings. They prepare your heirs to handle wealth responsibly. Then, put structure around your intentions. Review your beneficiary designations every year or two. Make sure they reflect your current wishes. Consider using Roth accounts for inheritances because your heirs won't owe taxes on that money. And work with an estate attorney to set up trusts if a appropriate. Trusts can protect your wealth from creditors, divorce, and poor decisions. Legacy planning isn't about control. It's about continuity. It's how you pass down your values alongside your wealth. So, there you have it. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to this channel. Also, check out the next video I've created, where I talk about how to minimize taxes on your Social Security benefits and required minimum distributions.